West Ham. It looks like it. Everything can change for West Ham United Football Club in the next few seconds. West Ham players are surrounding Webb, saying the game should be finished. Time is up. It is up. It's all up for Blackpool. There'll be no Ian Holloway back in the Premier League. It is West Ham United who return at the first time of asking after a finale in the grand manner of these playoff finals, dripping with drama. It wasn't pretty. It's not been pretty very often this season for West Ham. They were home and hosed as favourites to win the title in January. They seemed to let it slip through their grasp, but they have rallied, they've shown strength, and it's a game too far for Blackpool. No words needed over the pictures of dejection, those scenes no one would trade traces with the losing players. But everything changes for West Ham now. Carlton Cole, you can say he led by example today. Blackpool, it is a hard luck story. They will feel they played in patches near their best and it wasn't enough. They had the chances. When the chances came, just chiselled out by sheer will by Cole, West Ham took them, and Barry Ferguson just can hardly bear to look. The extremes are pretty much unparalleled in moments like this. They are back in the Premier League. They've battered their way back there. Nobody cares, and surely all those who had quibbles with the West Ham style won't be arguing tonight. Maybe it's an argument for another day, but they'll be flying high all the way back to the East End tonight.
Well, the brief was, get us back. Big Sam has done just that. West Ham it is who win the Championship playoff final. The £90 million game of football, they call it. And we said earlier, nowhere for losers today. Blackpool have lost. West Ham and Big Sam are back in the big time. Trevor Francis, Phil Brown and Alan Kirbishley, our guests. Alan, you've done it. Phil, you've done it in this very same way. How does it feel?
Well, firstly, it's a great relief. You know, the fact that, you know, you've had this day and you've come out on top, and it's a chance for the fans to enjoy it. And then I'm sure Sam will even be thinking now what is needed for next season. They've finished the season perhaps 3 or 4 weeks after the other clubs that have been promoted. They've got to start planning now, West Ham, and it will start in earnest tomorrow, I think. Now they're a Premier League club with the different finances coming in. They can go after the targets that they've been looking at and hoping they could get if they won promotion.
How does it feel, Phil?
Well, it is congratulations to Reading and Southampton, but now Sam's having the best time of it. You know, it's one game. It was all ends up. You know, both sides both went for it in the second half. To be fair, Blackpool played ever so well in the second half. I thought there was a period where West Ham lost the game, lost their grip on the game. But then the injuries played a part. I thought, you know, that you had to take both fullbacks off, and I think both fullbacks were having a bit of a torrid time against their opposing wingers. Consequently, he replaced them with George McCartney and who's the right back, Julian Faubert, and they've gone into it looked like they'd gone into a diamond formation, and they got the grips of the game again. But delighted for Ricardo Vaz to get the winning goal, and he'll never forget this game.
It's a bit harsh on Blackpool now, don't you think?
Very harsh.
It's a bit harsh.
They had chances, I must admit.
A year ago, Phil, Vaz was playing for Hibs.
Exactly, he's had
quite a transformation, isn't
a roller coaster, and that was, no disrespect to Hibs, that was a low point in his career. Going to Greece was a low point in his career. Coming back via Barnsley and now into the Premier League, he'll get an opportunity. Sam will give him a chance because he's got the talent. Has he got the temperament for the highest league? I don't know yet, but he's certainly got the talent.
I just hope that Sam gets the credit for having the initiative and for bringing him to West Ham. You know, he's come up with the goods.
He actually told me this week he went for Jelavic, Trevor, and missed out. This was the replacement. This was second choice last time. It's been a pretty good replacement, hasn't it?
Well, he's come up with some important goals in the run-up to this final, and actually, I thought he'd missed that opportunity. He surprisingly put it very, very high into the net.
Has it left him? Do you think he did?
Possibly.
I have to say, though, I mean, it's what we were hoping for. It was entertaining. We predicted goals, not quite as many as 5, but certainly we got 3 goals. We got plenty of goal-scoring opportunities. The upright was struck. A fantastic volley from Nolan hit the crossbar second half. And you have that the team that finishes third, for me, should get promotion. It's happened today, and I think they deserve it for what they've achieved.
Up. That'll feel good as well, won't it?
It's one hell of a trouble when you think about it, isn't it? But I don't think he was focusing on the 2 lads that, you know, the 2 teams that went down by any stretch of the imagination. All his focus was on getting West Ham promoted to the Premier League, and he's achieved that. Yes, you can look back on it and say 2 of the clubs that he's had a real, I mean, more so Bolton and Blackburn, he had a legacy left. And the 3 managers that have managed since have had a hangover of that legacy. At Blackburn, it wasn't so much as that. It was a case of somebody who he brought in as third choice. You know, he had Neil MacDonald at Blackburn. Them 2 left, and the third choice, you know, the first team coach gets the job, and consequently they've gone down. I don't think Sam will be thinking about that. He'll be, as Alan said, 15 minutes after this game, I'm thinking about the targets that you've got to bring in, because already the other teams have got a head start on you, bringing 1 or 2 of their targets in.
I was thinking about you spending this evening in the sports cafe amongst West Ham fans. It'll be a better night now, won't it?
I think it'll be a great night. I hope so, anyway.
Just a word about Ian Holloway, Richard, because I think he provided us with some wonderful entertainment this season. Today, his team could have won the game. They played some terrific stuff. The season's finished in an iconic stadium at Wembley, just like it did last season when they lost in an iconic stadium in Old Trafford. You know, whenever they take the field, they play with a freedom, they express themselves. They're a joy to watch. Sadly, they were just second best today in terms of goals, but I think there would have been many throughout football who can sympathise this evening with Ian Holloway, because they gave absolutely everything, and many would say that Blackpool probably deserved to win this game.
A good job they're back, West Ham. Those T-shirts were printed in advance, weren't they? Nothing beats being back. That would have been a story. Let's go and rejoin Paul Dempsey for this trophy lift.
It's a long old walk here at the new stadium. It's one West Ham have dreamt about making over the last 2 or 3 tense weeks, but it all ends well. "47 years on from the club's greatest moment when they won a European trophy. That trophy means they are back in the big time. West Ham winners of the 2012 Empire Championship final. It was a close-run thing. They seem to have thrown their best chance away this season. They looked the best side in the league for a long spell, but all the credit in the world to a group of players who were good enough, strong enough, had the resolve to pick themselves up and go again, and I guess that's what experience gives you. David Sullivan, the other half of the, let's say, colourful ownership duo, embracing his men as well. Young Tompkins, brilliant today. Carlton Cole, his contribution will live long in the memory. Reid, very good also. Missed when he was out of the side. Sir Trevor looks on approvingly. Whether or not he approves of the style of play is secondary. He knows what it means to be a Wembley winner with West Ham. He did it many years ago in the FA Cup final. And surely, wherever we go in the football world, it's more about winning than anything else. We will leave you with these pictures of a famous day for West Ham United, not to be for Blackpool, who have to regroup over the summer, but it is West Ham United who have rebuilt after their relegation, and Big Sam has delivered on his promise to these supporters to get West Ham back to the Premier League, and that would appear to be the perfect parting shot for us today. Bubbles everywhere at Wembley. West Ham win the playoff final, and we'll see them back in the Premier League next season.
And you can be certain that Big Sam will organise a big party tonight. Alan, this is your team. We've seen one or two famous faces from down the years. Where will these boys sit in the Hammers Hall of Fame?
Oh, I think winning any competition, winning promotion's one thing, but winning the playoff at Wembley, as we said earlier, it's a fantastic day out for the fans of the winners. And look, you can see Karen Brady enjoying it. And the West Ham fans demanded promotion. They didn't get it automatic. They've now gone and got it the best possible way, I think, winning it at Wembley and with all your fans there, Barry Fry. And I think that, no disrespect to Blackpool in terms of size of the clubs, but West Ham are a Premier League outfit from top to bottom. They've now got to stay there because it is very, very difficult. We must say that Blackpool put up a great effort and they had the best chances in that second half to have won it, at least scored and made it very, very difficult for West Ham. But they are back where they belong. They are back where they belong, West Ham.
Oh dear.
I think the teams in the Premier League are going to be battling relegation next season. I think they would have undoubtedly preferred Blackpool to come into the league because, with West Ham's financial resources, having gone down last year, I'm sure they'll make sure they'll finance it sufficiently enough to, I don't know about guarantee Premier League status, but to really help them stay in that league.
David Sullivan said this week, just getting up would cost another 14 million in transfer fees, obviously money owed on deals and bonuses. So that's a fair chunk to start with, isn't it?
Well, what he'd like to do is now probably to bring in 11 loan players. That's what David prefers.
You won't leave it alone, will you?
No, I'm telling the truth. He loves the loan player. You ask Sam, he will always come up with the goods in terms of loan players. He doesn't like to tie players into contracts.
But there is no future, surely, in that formula.
Well, many managers have probably told him that over the years, but David's very much his own man. He'll enjoy the day, as he did 10 years ago with Birmingham when they beat Norwich in the playoff final at the Millennium. It's the second time that the two Davids, Sullivan and Gold, have tasted a playoff final victory. I imagine it's the most wonderful feeling, and congratulations to them because, for what I said just now, this season, West Ham have undoubtedly deserved it.
I think it's interesting in what you said, Richard, that it's worth 90 million this game, but most of it's going to be spent, or even more than that, in trying to keep them up, because that's the nature of the game.
And by way of warning, 10 isn't good enough, is it?
Absolutely not.
You've got to praise Hammond.
They want more than that, but they are a Premier League club. Their stature, their fan base. So I'm really glad to see them back in the Premier League.
Well, he played his part, didn't he, Phil?
He certainly did, yeah.
Scored one and made one.
You always question, when you play, you see Carlton Cole on the team sheet and you think, well, who's going to play alongside him? What's the system going to be? What's the football? He's going to be the number 9. He's going to be working the two centre-halves tirelessly, getting in behind them, challenging them aerially, putting a threat on them. But the first goal summed him up. His movement was top class.
And the second?
Second goal, he played a big part in it. He was more of a powerhouse, but his first touch took him towards a goal-scoring position. Again, I thought maybe Matty Gilks could have got to the ball and smothered it, but when you see the size of the big fella coming at you, it's one of them where your brakes are going on, and he's managed to get the ball through the basket.
But the cross, the cross was set up, of course, by Nolan, wasn't it?
Nolan, yeah.
I mean, there's only 4 minutes left, and he showed great energy, making a run into a wide area. But we'll probably get the chance to see in a minute from a Blackpool aspect. I always want my defenders, normally fullbacks, in this case I think it was Ian Evatt, in a wide position. I think he's got to work harder to stop the cross coming in. He's allowed Nolan to put the ball into the box unopposed, and the goal came from it.
Phil, you've enjoyed together and separately some great moments.
Yeah.
You and Big Sam. You know him probably better than anybody else. Would this be right up there with his best achievements?
I think so, you know, because of the expectancy level, as we've been talking about, of the West Ham fans. It puts a level of pressure on you as a manager where constantly you're being questioned about your philosophy, about the way you are, your methods, your training. Everything's, you know, they're starting to question him as a manager. God almighty, he's been there for a long, long time. And he's achieved this with Hammers. I mean, automatic, everybody said it should have been automatic, but it wasn't. But then you've got to dust yourself down, and the way he's addressed the 2 games against Cardiff, I thought was of the utmost professional approach. But today, fantastic. I feel delighted for him. He will celebrate tonight, by the way.
Do you think, maybe Alan, regardless of what happens at West Ham, and regardless of who manages the club in the future, they will always refer back, West Ham supporters, to the 60s with Hurst, Peters and Bobby Moore. That seemed to be an era where they will never ever forget it, and everyone's compared to that.
A little like Liverpool, that if a modern day approach to a football club with tremendous history has to be the way forward, West Ham to some degree surely have got to stop looking back and now start thinking about what lies ahead.
Absolutely, and I think they've been renowned for the academy, and as Trevor said, some of the fans there now wouldn't have seen the Bobby Moores or the Jeff Hurst or the Martin Peters. Absolutely, and they go on about it some time, but it's in their makeup, it's in their DNA, and they refer to it so often. What Sam's got to do now is for the fans especially, is to start off well next year, establish yourself back in the Premier League, because over the last 6 or 7 years they've been a yo-yo club. They've not been around too long in the Premier League. They need to go back there like they've done today and stay there.
I think that's what he did at Bolton, Alan. When Bolton during the 90s were yo-yo club, they lost 3 or 4 managers, then all of a sudden we got promoted and we stayed there the first year, the second year, and then we became a European threat. And Sam can do the same with time. It's got to be given time.
Throughout his stay there this season, he's constantly being asked about, playing the West Ham way. And I like one of his responses when he said, well, what's the West Ham way? Losing football matches regularly.
Got them relegated.
Absolutely.
Playing the West Ham way may have seen him finish 10th. He's talked about playing winning football. It's delivered.
It's like the legacy of an England supporter. When you go back to the 60s, 66, we won the World Cup because we were the best team at that time. Now, it's a totally different, kettle of fish as far as I'm concerned. You've got to be more realistic, West Ham.
He knows the words, look. But he doesn't, he will by tonight.
The great thing about the fans at West Ham, they are so demanding and so critical. And when they're behind you, like they have been today and for most of the season, they're second to none. And when you go to Upton Park, if they're behind you, then you're in for a really difficult afternoon. And that's what Sam will have to work on next year, to get that crowd really behind them in that Premier League. Start off well. And it'll be a difficult place to go to.
Now that they've won promotion, will they push ahead with the Olympic Stadium, or will they stay at the Upton Park?
Well, that was the big thing. I think that obviously there's lots of talk that after the Olympics, the following season they will go into Stratford with bigger capacity. You can see the fan base. There were, 80,000 people at Wembley today. There must have been 55,000 West Ham fans. They've got the fan base, Trevor. They need a bigger ground. I'm not too sure if Stratford's the stadium they need, but they need a bigger ground.
Having spoken as you did about Upton Park, and we all know what an atmosphere can be created for the Hammers by that support, would you, you're in charge, be advising against going to the Olympic Stadium? Would the enormity of the place dilute what they get out of it?
I would. I don't know if there's obviously not a possibility of improving Upton Park, but that is a big plus point. If they go to this stadium, Stratford, big open spaces, perhaps not the same atmosphere, they may come unstuck there. They may not enjoy the passionate support that they're getting now.
What can they get from the Olympic Stadium apart from numbers that they can't at Upton Park?
That's what they're after, just the numbers. I think they want to get 60,000 in there, more revenue, more money coming into the club, and to try and grow the club. At the moment, they can only get 35,000 into Upton Park, sold out week in, week out in the Championship, in the Premier League. So they do need a bigger stadium. But I think because of the legacy that the Olympic organisation they want to keep the track, and that's a big problem.
We shouldn't forget, though, they've won promotion this season primarily through their away form, because their home form has been nothing short of, I don't know about disastrous, but it's not been sufficiently good enough to accumulate the points that you should be getting at home.
And that's the pressure that the fans have put on them to go straight back up. That's a big problem this season.
And I
But in
think
some ways, is that not, again, Phil, to Sam's credit, that he's had to find a formula to get the other side of teams that have just gone to Upton Park and sat? They've found more freedom to express themselves on the road, haven't they?
I think you look into the words that he came out with at the start of his tenure, and he said the word soulless, and when somebody delivers that to a football club, that's a real criticism of you as a football club, and it does. The fans are not soulless, but the team played soulless football, and they were going to away grounds in the Premier League and they weren't turning up. He's got them turning up away from home. It's unfortunately the flip side, the home form that they suffered with because of the pressure that was building on.
The big thing at West Ham over the years is they've always been a stable club. I think they've only had 11 managers before I went there 5 years ago. Since I've gone there, they've had 4 managers, 4 chairmen, 4 new owners. You know, they need stability, and Sam can give them that if they survive it next year in the Premier League.
I don't think it was a particularly inspiring performance today from West Ham.
No.
You look back at the semi-finals, I thought they were excellent in the 2 legs against Cardiff.
I wonder right now if they'd criticise the performance of their team today.
No, because sometimes, you know, if you don't play well, you know, you have to make sure you don't lose the game. They've won today because they've taken the chances